This skull candy dish is a fun Halloween project for your CNC, but it can also teach you quite a lot about choosing bits. Selecting the right tools and programming them correctly will improve your results, save you time, and greatly reduce the need for cleanup and sanding after the CNC has finished its work. I teach these techniques and many others throughout my book, The Beginner's Guide to CNC Machining in Wood, from Fox Chapel Publishing. I started with an image imported into my CAD program, then traced the image to get a simple set of shapes that make up the skull. This was then imported into VCarve as a DXF file, and toolpathing begun. I prefer to use a dish carving bit for pockets like this, so that a cove is formed between the bottom of the dish and the wall. This is a good idea for any food serving project. The cove at the bottom is much easier to clean than a square corner. But I also tend to use this bit for all sorts of pockets like those on coasters and game boards. This sort of coved pocket can be formed using a ball end bit, but the dish carving bit will cut the pocket faster and leaves a much flatter bottom surface, greatly reducing the sanding required later. I've chosen Freud's half-inch dish carving bit number 19104. Using this smaller bit means a little more milling time than a larger diameter, but a larger diameter would not be able to cut between the raised eye sockets and mouth of our skull. As my ShopBot Desktop starts cutting the pocket, notice how the waste is made up of large, curly flakes and not a bunch of dust. This is exactly what you want to see. It proves that the feed and RPM applied for this bit is correct and will result in clean cuts and longer bit life. Small chips and dust mean that the feed is too slow, the RPM is too high, or both. Either or both can be adjusted until the cut is proper. This is called chip load, and the goal is to have each cut by the bit be made in fresh material as the bit is moving forward. Otherwise, spinning too long in one spot generates excess heat through friction. And this excess heat will burn and damage your bits. Once the pocket is cut, the sides of the dish need to be rounded over. This can be done very efficiently right here on the CNC using a point-cutting roundover bit. Whiteside Machine makes several sizes of these bits. I chose their number 1572 with a 1/4 inch radius. Initially, I programmed this bit to cut directly on the outlines of the skull, but this left a visible line along all of the edges. The tip of the bit looks like a point, but actually is a slight flat that I did not account for. Rather than trying to draw new lines or reprogram toolpaths, I simply added an offset of 15 thousandths of an inch. This offset causes the VCarve software to shift the bit path to be just beyond the recently cut pocket borders. The end result was a smooth rounding of the edges without needing to fix it after the CNC is done. And notice that the same sort of cut was made along the outer perimeter of the dish before it's cut from the rest of the blank. The point-cutting roundover bit can do this easily. Just be sure to use the same offset that was used for the inside cuts. The dish begins to look like we were expecting. It only needs to be cut out. Accurately setting the Z-height of all these different tools is critical on a project like this. The extended length of the tool setting plate that comes with the ShopBot Desktop made it easy to get accurate results even when working around the large pockets. I used a 3/8 spiral bit that worked quite nicely. To minimize the sanding and cleanup on the outer edge, I made this an onion skin cut, leaving 1/32 of wood uncut at the bottom of the blank. This eliminates the needs for tabs that have to be cut and then sanded clean later. I also used a lead in and lead out to start and end the cut away from the dish side. This step also eliminates tool marks that might have to be sanded out later. With the CNC work done, the dish bottom can be rounded over with a standard router bit. This also removes all traces of the onion skin. Your dish can now get a light sanding and finish applied. Programming and tooling choices can make your CNC projects better and greatly reduce the handwork involved.